everybody. Welcome to the College Rugby Wrap Up. We are back and we are in the thick of it. Guys, Zach Lanning here with you, and I am joined by Colby Marshall. Colby, how's it going? What's going on with you?
Super pumped up for this playoff extravaganza that we got coming up in college rugby. Can't wait for the action. Feeling good.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
That wasn't Jim Moore Jr., guys, that you heard. That was actually, shockingly, I have to check with the producers to make sure this is right, but we are also joined by Josh Resio for the second week in a row, which I'm not sure the last back-to-back show we did. But Josh, welcome in, man. How does it feel? How does it feel to be here, on a consistent basis?
It feels great. I'm in the desert of Arizona, hunting for a new cactus to keep in my apartment because I'm gone too much to keep any other plant alive. But I'm excited to be here. It's going to be great.
Wow. I am sure you will have some good luck finding plenty of cacti out there. Colby, we're cold on the East Coast, man. It's wintertime. It snowed up here in Maine. I don't know what it's like down by you in Jersey, but it's freezing.
Well, we've been pretty spoiled the past couple of weeks, and on the back end of October and in November, with the weather being relatively nice. The sun has been out on a few weekends. We've been getting some nice weather, but now it is starting to get into that winter phase where it's cold 24/7, and you wake up in 30-degree weather and it doesn't change. So I'm ready for it, though. I'm not complaining. I'm alive.
Absolutely. And we could talk about weather all we want. We could be a weather podcast, probably. I'd be into it. But we're not. We're a college rugby podcast, so we're going to get into that in a little bit. We're going to start, actually, though, guys, that's with not some college rugby. We're inching our way closer. We have a little bit of rugby. I want to get your guys' take on the repechage here, the USA men's finishing up their campaign. They are in a one-off playoff play-in game this week against Portugal, but they did beat Hong Kong last week 49-7. So two dominant wins, guys, for the US Eagles in this loser goes home tournament here. Josh, we could start with you. What are your takeaways from that Hong Kong match, and what are you looking forward to in the Portugal game coming up?
I mean, again, this is a USA team that should not be here, so they should be performing the way they are. I think Cam Dolan said it perfect after the game, in the sense that they're playing with the knowledge that a team that is going to a country that is going to be hosting a World Cup in 2031 and 2033 has to be qualifying for the World Cup. And they're coming out here and they're getting the job done. Portugal's I don't know if you guys watched the game against Kenya, but Kenya maybe it was a little bit beat up from the US game, but oh my goodness. Portugal they almost wollywopped them. We almost had our own segment for the wollywop. It was the national team.
They didn't almost mollywop them.
It was pretty crazy. I almost think the score doesn't even say much about it. It was dominating on both sides of the ball. And again, Kenya's not some small team. Granted, yes, they still have a long ways to go in regards to their national rugby presence, but they're huge guys, and Portugal was running all over them. Really excited to watch this next game. I think everything that they've been doing in Dubai has painted a great picture. It's a toss-up still for me. I don't know what's going to happen.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you, Josh. I think they put in a dominant performance, but to say that they almost mollywop Kenya is just, I think, a little aggressive, because they were 32 points short of 100 points. So I don't know where mollywhopping is warranted in this discussion. It's just uncalled for, Josh.
We do have very specific rules, Josh. It's very specific.
I get it.
You made the segment, so you have to follow the criteria that you set forward for this.
There needs to be a handicap for the national teams. No national team should lose by 100 points, but
that's true.
Just because Josh is on a two-show streak right now, he thinks he can use mollywop whenever he wants.
It's on a heater. It's that desert heat. He's coming in hot in this one. So I love it. Colby, what are your thoughts on the men's team here before we get into some of the college action?
No, yeah, in all seriousness, I agree with Josh. I think that this upcoming game for the men's against Portugal is going to be a tough one. They put a hurting on Kenya, won by a lot more than we beat Hong Kong by, and it's going to be a tough game, I believe. So I'm looking forward to it. And, looking at the roster for the U.S., I'm confident that they'll come away with the victory. We talked about it last week. They got a lot of guys on there that, they're making their first couple of appearances for the national team, but you also have the likes of Dylan Fawcett, who's been around, Greg Peterson, Cam Dolan as well, who have a lot of appearances for the squad. So looking forward to the game against Portugal. It should be a good one.
Yeah, it's probably surprising looking at that roster right now as well. Fawcett not making the match day 23 at all, which is probably interesting. I mean, we'll have Pifoletti step in at hooker, who's playing with the Saracens right now. He's got 9 caps. A couple of younger guys as well. Hilou and Corey Daniel at the flanker spots, who only have 2 caps apiece. Mitch Wilson at fullback with only 2 caps, playing his ball for the Free Jacks in the MLR. But it should be a great game. Yeah, Portugal definitely not a slouch. Everybody make sure you tune in for that game on Friday. It'll be following up. We'll talk about this later as well. The great Friday Night Lights clash in the NCR between Boston College and Notre Dame. That'll be that night as well. So Friday is a huge rugby day for everybody. So make sure you got to grab a seat for that as we get into something there.
Is that a Friday Night Lights game? What time is that? That's going to be a Friday morning game, I assume.
The U.S. game, I believe, I thought they said it was 10:30 p.m., but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the time difference is between here and Dubai, but
true that.
Everybody check out. Oh no, you're right. 10:30 a.m. Yeah, excuse me, I was wrong. So in the morning, check out the men's team, and then at night, make sure you check out some college rugby as well. Thanks, Colby, for correcting me on that one. So everybody, make sure that's a big day. So that is a very big day of rugby.
I don't like that it's going to be in the morning, though, because if they lose, it's going to ruin my Friday night. You can't.
That's true.
I don't want the national team to ruin my Friday night.
Seems like a choice you can make, Josh, on your own accord there, to not let it get to you. But I'm very confident. You guys all think they're going to win, right? I'm very confident that they take this game.
I might make it my lock.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Wow.
Can I do that?
Now you mushed them.
You can do that. You're just going to face a lot of backlash from the community.
Josh is rebelling against all the rules we have on this podcast right now. So we only have 2 or 3 things that are like concrete, and you're just pushing all of them. But with that,
buttons.
Yeah, that being said, we can get into some college rugby now, guys. Let's talk about the things that we are gathered here together to talk about, the things we supposedly know about, and we'll start. Josh, you've got some really exciting stuff happening out there on the West Coast, sometimes the Forgotten Coast during the fall rugby season, and perhaps the forgotten sport in sevens as well.
I mean, you're not wrong. Let's talk about Pac sevens for a second. For one, I mean, it's weird. So I've been helping out with Stanford Rugby, which, what an amazing program. Such a hard school to recruit for, being that, 1, super expensive, 2, a small campus.
Don't sell yourself short, Josh. Also helping out. You're a certified coach. You've been helping with the coaching there, kind of taking on a large role with the program.
I know. It's amazing to me that after college, I feel like, and all of us are in this situation, right, where we're trying to continue staying involved in the game and doing what we can to help it grow. The network that we've all created, the people that we've gotten to meet, and just how accepting people are for us coming in and being able to help them, whether it's for, back in May Madness in New Orleans, me helping Stanford, Zach, you've been able to help out with some events, various events, college rugby events as well. It's really cool to see, and I'm loving the opportunity. And Pac sevens was no exception to it. One, hosted at Stanford, so there was a lot of that carryover from the Battle for the Mitten event organizing help that I was able to fill in for. But what a great tournament! I think it's no joke. Cal is still the team to beat, and they dominated the competition throughout. They finished day 1 with a point differential of 128.
There's your mollywhopping.
There's the mollywhopping. They would score in max 2 phases. It was pretty impressive to see. They had a flanker, or at least what I would assume is a college-sized flanker, out on the wing. And he was just, I forget his name, but he was just absolutely demolishing anyone. If the ball got out there, he was either walking into the try zone, or there was some small man out there that was just going to get absolutely destroyed by this man every single phase. You would see the crowd kind of gasp a little bit, but a couple things I want to take out of this, and I want to phrase to you. First off, talking with the men, an amazing performance by Arizona. I think you look at other programs on the West Coast who have had to deal with Cal, have had to deal with St. Mary's, and certain coaches, you can say Harry Bennett at UCLA as well, have really emphasized on trying to build connections with schools throughout the region and get a solid platform of players that keep coming in. And Arizona is no exception to that. Arizona, if anyone from California would be aware, has a huge connection with Jesuit High School in the Sacramento area and just keeps pulling over some amazing talent. Christian Dreyer is from Jesuit High School as well, from the Sacramento area. So, it's a great school that's pumping out great rugby talent, and you're starting to see it pay dividends for the Arizona team, who, even though, yes, Cal still commanded the game at the end, Arizona is looking like an amazing 7 squad and a group that is starting to carry the size and the physicality needed to compete against a Cal team. So I guess my first question for you guys really is in that regards of, if you are another team, how do you think they are able to start recruiting and start kind of coming back to these other teams to compete with Cal?
Colby,
For me personally, I think it starts with the coaching and the development of the squad. When I think about my time playing for Iona, we didn't have a 7s program in 2014, 2015, 2016. I think our first 7s team was in 2016. And, while we had a formidable 15 size, 7s is a different game. And so we had to bring on a completely new coach to come in and groom us and run us through the proper skills and fundamentals of what you needed as a team to be successful in 7s. And that catapulted us to being number 5 in the nation in 7s in 2018. So I think it starts with the coaching and what message you're able to send to the collection of players you have to be successful in 7s, because it's such a short game. You don't have much room for error. You don't have much room for mistakes. You have to be on top of your skills, on top of the game plan, and know what you're doing even more than in 15. So I think it starts there.
Yeah, I echo Colby on that. I think he said you were absolutely right. Although I also had no idea Colby played at Iona, so that's crazy. I found that out. That was wild. But it's such a shock to me. But I think you're right, Colby. It's about coaching and it's about building a program, and then also, and you mentioned a little bit, Josh, as well, like building those connections with, kind of younger or youth programs outside of your organization where you can, recruit young kids coming up through middle school, high school, who are interested in playing the game and are athletes, and just kind of building that pipeline and giving them opportunities and saying, hey, you can come here and we're going to play the best schools that are out there, like the Cals. Maybe we're not the best at this point, but we're going to play the best and we're going to be competitive. We're going to give you every advantage that we possibly can as a coach, as a program. And maybe it takes a while to get that going, but after a while, you're going to get 1, 2, 3 really quality athletes that come through these, youth pipelines, that's going to be an advantage then over other schools who are going to, they're not going to be able to recruit these kids because they've kind of already locked into this pathway program. So, I mean, that goes for all rugby as well, but I think that would be my take on kind of how to successfully build a successful, 7s program when you're not one of the top schools like Cal.
No, definitely. And I guess, with that, the second takeaway that I took from Pac 7s, and, Goff did again, it's hard to spend a lot of time recapping it because Cal was so dominant. You could say great things about Stanford men. Now, even though they're a D2 team, technically top 4 7s team in the West Coast, they finished in 4th place. So I was happy about that. The other big noticeable point was the international influence on the 7s game here with U.S. schools. The West Coast specifically, and you take a look at like UCLA, you take a look again at Arizona, USC, I think have doubled down on these partnerships with these call them consulting firms across the country that are trying to bring talent from other countries into US schools. Arizona, being a school that is able to, is seen as a very affordable school to go, has international talent, throughout. USC, seemed to have a bunch of international talent. The only schools that I didn't really see that much international talent was the Oregon and Oregon State, which maybe there's still that, kind of that partnership they're trying to build. But I was shocked the amount of people you talk to with accents playing in 7s this weekend for a game that's supposed to be, this is going to be the US's thing. It seems like the West Coast teams have kind of taken over and said, no, we're going to still bring in international talent and fill them into all these spots. How do you feel about that? Because a lot of coaches on the West Coast, and I preface it with this, really think that, instead of making the argument about 15s versus 7 or making the argument about fall versus spring on 15s, is making the argument that the US's path forward and the US's path forward to getting schools involved is focusing on 7s. So where's your guys' thought on that, and where do you kind of lie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot for me. I think I've always thought as well, I've always believed that 7s is an easier product to sell if you want to make something popular in the States here to an audience that's not familiar with rugby. I think that is going to be the gateway to a successful rugby culture in the States is 7s and PR 7s and at the pro level, because it's a much easier game to understand. So on that level, I see that. I think 7s is something we should definitely be focusing on. I don't know necessarily that means we have to discard 15s completely, but I just see 7s as more of a modern game and something that you could sell TV deals to pretty easily, and the athletes are marketable, and they can, it's easier to cut highlight reels, and it's less technical. So I think we definitely should have separate 7s programs at colleges, and that they are, grooming these athletes, and they're kind of focusing on these as a separate thing, as Colby mentioned earlier. Don't just roll it in with 15s and say, oh, let's get the same guys out here and just run more. But in terms of the international players as well, I also think that's just a necessary thing at this point. I mean, as much as we may not, much as we want homegrown talent to be at the forefront in the States, the only way that our players get better is by bringing in more experienced players from other countries. I think that we've seen that happen with the women's game, where the U.S. players go to the Allianz Premier 15s and they play with other women from other countries, and they just get better by doing that. So I think that helps the college game ultimately. I don't think you can ever going to squeeze out every American player. Maybe there's less going forward, but I think it's a necessary kind of movement within reason, I'll say. So I don't know. That was not a very definitive answer, but it's tough for me to think through. Colby, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I thought that was a perfect answer. I thought you covered everything that I wanted to say. I totally agree with you.
I stole your note. I saw you wrote the notes in the doc. I stole them. So I just read them out.
I wrote notes in the doc?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I will just want to add really quick, Josh. Yeah, if you think about, off of Zach's point, if you think about other sports and, like, for example, basketball in Europe, I don't believe that they grow just from producing homegrown talent in those leagues. Like, you see guys like Stephon Marbury, and I don't know, you see NBA players go over there and play, and I'm sure that does wonders for the sport over there and for their growth, learning from those guys. So it's the same concept sort of here. That's just, I think, necessary at this point.
I love that, Colby. That's a great point. You're exporting kind of your talented players that maybe aren't at the same level as they could be in the home leagues, and then that spreads like knowledge of the game and more talent elsewhere, and it gets people more interested because you have these stars and big names attached to them. So I think it's a great point. It really is like what the U.S. does with every other sport. Europe and maybe this Southern Hemisphere countries should be doing with rugby here in the States. That's great.
Yeah. The last thing I want to call out about this one, and this one, it still bugs me after going there this weekend. So on the women's side, there was only 2 teams there. There was Stanford and Cal. What I did not know is that, so Cal men varsity program, all the resources they need, brought all the trainers, had a bus, had it all, full coaching staff, full marketing staff, everything. It was basically a professional team. Cal women's team, club team, no interaction whatsoever with the men's program. It doesn't seem. And I guess it took me back for a second, in the sense that, we talk about NIRA, we talk about, NCAA making women's rugby an emerging sport. And you have the top school, one of the top schools in the nation, the school that, everyone thinks about when you think about college rugby, who on the surface, and there might be some behind the scenes stuff they're doing, does not seem to bat an eye to their women's program. And it's shocking to me. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are there, if you had similar experiences at your schools, but, from a team that had all the resources in the world to the Cal women's team, who was sitting with one coach, none of the same gear, nothing, was doing basically on their own. And, I would have expected maybe the Cal men to be more exciting or more excited about the women playing, but nothing. There was no interaction between the two teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't know. I've seen some of that, like going through, researching stuff on Cal, like in the playoffs and things. And you look on the website, and there's really no mention of a women's team or program at all. I wasn't even sure if the school had one at one
I was
point.
gonna say, how long have they been around?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, historically, I guess, yeah, that you've seen that all the resources have grown because they have this great alumni base for the men's team. I'm not sure how long the women's program has been around, but the path forward for the game is to elevate both men's and women's. I think going forward, you can't just have one. I mean, that doesn't. I don't get it. It's not like it's difficult for them to to combine resources there.
Yeah, like you need that. You need a start if you're a program to like get yourself on your own feet, and it just sounds like they haven't had that opportunity to grow. They haven't been given the resources to have the chance to elevate themselves and to, having maybe the possibility of becoming a Cal men's program type of team. So you need those resources you need an opportunity.
I've found at Holy Cross when I was there, we had a men's and women's team, but we both pretty much operated separately. In terms, we were obviously cordial, and we practiced on the same field. Sometimes we played our games. We knew each other. We hung out outside of that. But they had their own coaching structure. They had their own officers. They had their own budget from the school as a club team. We all kind of managed our things separately. And I wish, there probably was more opportunity for collaboration there and pooling our resources and kind of making it better across the board. So yeah, I mean, I do regret that. I'm sure that's probably how it is, that the clubs kind of are established at separate times and they just run their own thing. But I don't think that's helpful for the game going forward, especially not at a place like Cal that has all those resources, for the men's team.
Just so shocking to me. I mean, it's just, it's an interesting thing, maybe something we're going to have to find out more from Mr. Clark, but for such a good weekend, so shocking that you would see something like that. I mean, congratulations to Cal. They did amazing. But and the Cal women put up a good performance. They won 2 out of 5 against Stanford women. But yeah, I don't know.
My hot take is Cal just a 7 school now? Should they give up on 15s?
When I asked Jack how he was enjoying the weekend, his response was, "It's just 7s." So I would assume that Jack is very much looking forward to 15s and would like to get back and get another chance at the national title.
What an amazing 7s is basically just like fitness and like conditioning for the 15, and they're just so good at it by accident. Like they just win 7s en route to like trying to get to 15 season.
It was just wind sprints for them this weekend. I mean, come on.
Oh, that's amazing.
Conditioning.
Yeah. Well, let's transition here. We got it. That was our wind sprints, guys, and now we're getting into like the actual game here. We're getting into gameplay. We're getting into our game mindsets here. We're talking playoffs, guys. As Josh, you want to do that again? Josh, give us a little Jim Mora
playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs. You are
That's
absolutely right, and we have a lot
addition to the show. I'm just kidding.
We have a lot to talk about on that front, guys. And we'll start, I think, with Rugby East and probably the team of the year in Navy, who we've talked about pretty much nonstop since the season started in the fall, and because they deserve it, and they continue to do things that are going to make themselves noteworthy here. They have won Rugby East officially by beating St. Bonaventure, last year's NCR champion. St. Bonaventure's 28-8. And they were upset they gave up a last-second score to the Bonnies. They almost shut them out completely. And they are the most dominant team, guys, here. So, Colby, I mean, we could start with you on this as well. What are your thoughts on Navy and your thoughts on kind of them taking Rugby East here and that impact that it has on their playoff hopes kind of going forward here?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Navy and everything they accomplished this season, you looked at this game and thought to yourself, like, this is their last hurdle, right? This is their last test to prove that they're legit, that they are the best team, in the country right now. And I'll say that the best team in the country right now, because they're the ones who are playing. So they did what they needed to do. They beat St. Bonaventure 28-8. That's an incredibly impressive win, and even more impressive that they almost shut them out, like you said, Zach. And I've talked about Navy all year long. I've thought that they were the best team. They were better than Army, but like I said, this was their last test, and they passed the test in flying colors.
Yeah, and Josh, we could get to you on that. Colby, you're saying Navy's the best team in the country. I agree with you. I think most people would, and the CRAA also agrees. D1A Rugby, they have ranked Navy number one in their rankings for the first time ever in history. Navy number one, Lindenwood down at number two, St. Mary's at number three, Cal at four, Army falls to five. So what are your thoughts on that, Josh? CRAA, Navy now the number one team out of all the best.
I mean, for resume perspective, they're the number one team. If we're looking today, Lindenwood has a lot of season left to make an argument in their favor, but for now, I think it makes perfect sense to have them up there.
Yeah, we've had our discussions about how much value rankings hold when these teams don't regularly play each other. But I think that's a huge statement by CRAA to have to rank Navy number one there. And I guess that they did beat the number one team from last year in Army. So, they deserve to be there. It's difficult to explain as well. We were talking about Navy playing teams like St. Bonaventure. So that game had a bit of an impact on the NCR playoffs, which are coming up, which we can kind of talk through now, guys, and we'll get into our picks on that in a second here. But Navy won't be participating in those NCR playoffs. They will advance to the D1A playoffs in the spring, and it's expected, a Golf Rugby Report has reported, and we can say pretty concretely as well that Army, who are 6-1 now, will do the same. But that did have an impact on NCR seeding, as Queens University Charlotte actually took the number one seed now coming out of Rugby East and in the NCR, and the St. Bonaventure dropped down to the number two seed in the tournament. So it did impact seeding on that front. Any thoughts, guys, on kind of I guess we'll get into the NCR playoffs in a second when we fully get through. There's a couple other games I want to get through, but any final thoughts here on Navy's performance and that kind of weird mix between D1A and NCR that we love so much?
Josh, I feel like you'd have something to say.
It's too confusing to me, man. I mean, it's whatever. Get it fixed. Honestly, let's just put the CRA teams on one side and the NCR teams on one side. Let's turn this into the NFL. Let's just go crazy. It makes no sense.
I mean, is this a statement made by CRAA that last year was Army, this year it's Navy, that the best teams I think are always CRAA teams still? Like, are they saying, wait, we're still top dog, we still have the top talent in the nation, even if NCR may have better, a broader range of good teams? Is CRAA still the best right now?
Sure, but
okay, we'll go with that.
It's hard to say. It is hard to say, but you could also make the argument of, would some of these NCR teams be competing at the level they were if it wasn't for the organization of the NCR conference? Right. The resources they get, the traveling that's been happening in the last 2 years, and the organization needed to do these kind of games. I don't think that would have been possible for a lot of these schools. So yeah, CRAA still is lucky that they have the best schools and the teams that for years have been dominating these teams. But NCR is elevating the play of a lot of schools. And I think it's going to get closer and closer as it continues to develop.
All right, so we'll talk a few other results out of Rugby East there. Queens, as I mentioned, the number one seed, they beat St. Mary's 52-10. They're on a pretty hot streak here. They're taking care of business. Penn State fell to Notre Dame College 23-15. I don't believe either will be in the NCR playoff coming up here. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on either of those games before we move in to the Big Ten finals here. Flag me down if you do. But we will, we have a couple other games that had some standing on the standings here in the Big Ten. Indiana, as expected, but maybe not as dominantly as we expected, won the Big Ten over Ohio State. Very close game though. And Josh, we can lead with you, our Big Ten expert here. 22-10, Indiana, Big Ten champs. Closer game than we all thought, I think.
Yeah, 22-20. I mean, that is Ohio State was coming back there. For Ohio State, again, you have to remember this throughout the year. Ohio State played a really, really tough schedule And I think up until the draw or the tie that they had with Kentucky was dealing with probably more injuries than any other team in the Big Ten. So the fact that they were still able to dominate at the level they did and play a close game against Indiana, who has just been kind of rolling through competition, very impressive. But Indiana's very well deserved. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but near the end of the game, it just started pouring, like pouring rain. And I wish we could pull it up, but we're on a podcast. But there's some of the best rugby shots I've ever seen in my life were on that field as it was just pouring rain and Indiana was still playing a couple conversions. You got to check it out. But what a sight to see Indiana's back being champions once again.
Where can people go look to find those?
I think it's on Indiana's Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure a lot of the guys probably posted on their Instagrams.
Yeah,
they're as cool as Josh is exclaiming them to be.
It was pretty sick. I'm telling you, it was pretty cool. I think NCR reposted it as well, but it was just a really cool sight to see.
I love it. And Colby, how about you? Our kind of our resident Indiana fan, Hoosiers fan here, since they gave you some swag earlier. What do you think about the Indiana coming back on top here and dethroning Ohio State?
Yeah, the Hoosiers are definitely my merch buddies. They take care of me, we get along. So I'm very, very happy they won, got their dub over Ohio State. I picked them to win, thought they were going to win, got the job done. Justin Goonan and Luke Gross do a great job over there. And I'm glad that they're reaping the benefits of their hard work. Go Hoosiers.
Yeah, so they will reap some of those benefits. As you said, that win earned them a bid in the NCR playoff tournament upcoming. So a couple of results. We'll get into that now, guys, in that D1 bracket. First of all, our kind of darlings, two of our darlings on this podcast, Wheeling and Fairfield, won the play-in game. So they are in the tournament as well, both kind of pod favorites teams here. Wheeling beat Belmont Abbey 19-13. And Fairfield won a close one over Siena 31-29. So they're both dancing now in the final months here in the playoff tournament. And we'll break it down kind of by matchups here. And I want your guys' picks on these as well. This will be kind of, we'll do it as part of our pick segment as well. But, I want you to hear your guys' thoughts on each matchup and who you think is who's going to be, come out on top in these ones. So the first bracket in the NCR Men's D1 National Championship is going to be AIC at Queens. And the winner of that will play the winner of Fairfield at Thomas More. So a lot of really, really quality rugby teams here, guys. Colby, what are your thoughts on that first part of the bracket?
Yeah, I mean, I like Queens. Queens is tough. And AIC going on the road to play them is going to be an insanely tough game. It's going to be at Queens, right?
Yeah, I believe these are all the higher seeds until the next round when they play at a neutral site.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a neutral site. So I like Queens in that matchup against AIC. And then Fairfield against Thomas More, that's going to be an even better game, I think, than the first one. And I'm going to have to side with Fairfield.
Wow. Josh, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to take Queens in the first game. And I was also looking at Fairfield as my potential upset, but I think that's going to be a later game, possibly. So I'm going to go with Thomas More as well, coming out of here in the first round.
Wow. Yeah. It's hard to doubt Thomas More. I mean, all they've done is play quality rugby for the longest time now. And Fairfield's a bit of an unknown. They have not been on the scene that long. They've had a really great year with some signature wins, some quality wins. But Thomas More has been doing it for a while now. So I like them as well. And I think I'm going to make it official unanimous here. I think Queens beats AIC, although it's tough to tell with AIC. They have a lot of very athletic players, a lot of game breakers who can take it to the house at any point. So it'll be a tough matchup, but I think Queens definitely playing some great rugby right now with that one loss in Rugby East. Heading into this, our next bracket now got a couple of more intriguing matchups here. St. Bonaventure at Indiana in that first one. The winner of that match will play the winner of Wheeling at Brown. So tough first draw for Wheeling to get, probably one of the best teams in the country in Brown at this point, who have been dominant in the Liberty Conference this year and, run the Ivy League as well. So, Josh, we can start with you on these matchups too. Who do you think comes out here on top in that first round?
What a first round matchup, putting the Bonnies against Indiana.
That's the matchup, I think, of the tournament for sure. That's
really is. This is the one where I see very high potential for upset, and I'm going to pick the upset. I think the Bonnies can do it, can beat Indiana. I may come back to bite that, but I'm going to stick with that. And then I'm going to pick Brown over Wheeling for it. I think Indiana's just coming into this. They've had a long season. There's a lot of stuff going on, playing Ohio State in the rain. I wish they weren't playing in the first round, but I think the Bonnies have what it takes to get out of the first round.
Colby, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think even though Indiana is the home team, St. Bonaventure is the better side. So I'm going to go with them in this first game. And then I like the home team Brown defeating Wheeling. Even though I think Wheeling are going to be ready to play with the great culture that they have over there. But I think Brown are going to use home field advantage to their advantage and come away with the win.
Josh, did we get your pick on the Wheeling Brown matchup?
I chose Brown.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's a tough one for me because I really would love to see Wheeling, do what they got to do, but Brown is just so good, so dominant. I think Brown in that one. And I don't know, the Bonnies they have such a tougher schedule than Indiana, who play, they play a couple good teams a year in the Big Ten, and it's just tough to compare to playing all those Rugby East powerhouses that's the Bonnies do on a consistent basis. So that probably sets them up for success. I think I'll go Bonnies as well in that one. So those are the first couple rounds of the brackets here for NCR. We'll follow that as well. Those first games are happening this weekend, so make sure you try and catch those as well on Saturday. Guys, I don't know if we have some time, we could run through some of the other brackets as well, the D1 AA, D2 small college. I do want to just know one thing, and that is looking through all of these brackets here on the National Collegiate Rugby Twitter. There's so many teams that are Cardinals as like their mascot that I'm just gonna, those are the teams that I'm riding with throughout the tournament. So I love Wheeling in this first one here, even though I just picked against them. I like, I'm going to change my pick because of that. Actually, I'm going to say Wheeling over Brown as a Cardinal. Louisville, also the Cardinals here, facing off of South Carolina in one of the brackets of the 1AA. I like them against South Carolina to come out of the West region and play either Binghamton or James Madison. And then you have and then also in the other side of things, in another bracket, you have Catholic, who are also the Cardinals in the small college. So I'm going to pick them over Sewanee as well to come out of one of those regions. So that's my takeaway. If you guys have any like general thoughts about some of the other brackets here, feel free to shout them out.
So you're taking them
taking all Cardinals
because they're Cardinals.
Yeah. Because I love it. I mean, what are the odds? You get 3 schools out of 4 brackets that have a Cardinal mascot. It's great. I love it.
All right. Do you have? Are you in the business of buying a Cardinal for your home in Maine anytime soon? Or
no? I mean, it's a quality bird. Red's my favorite color. So I'm not a St. Louis Cardinals fan at all. But I just think it's just interesting to me. And I have to shout out in small college, UMaine Orono is playing as well. So I got a Maine school also in that small college bracket. So I'm gonna ride with them, either Maine or the Cardinals. That's my pick.
Are you gonna be able to go to that game, Zach?
I don't know. I don't know if they are the lower. No, they're in Malden, Massachusetts for that. It's a bit of a hike.
You got to go support the main teams.
I don't know. You guys aren't aware of my current tire situation on my car, where there is 0 tread on any of my tires. So I can't really leave the house even without fear of careening off the road. We'll see if I can make the trip. Who knows?
Stick a pair of skis. This is what they do in Maine, right? They stick skis on their cars during the winter, and they just go horse and carriage, but with a Toyota Prius.
No, everybody just stays inside for 3 months. Okay, nobody's skiing anywhere on their vehicles, guys. All right, you come up and spend a Maine winter, you'll understand. But any final thoughts here on NCR brackets on the men's side of things? No, it doesn't sound like it. Just want to take pot shots at Maine and move on. All right, that's fine with me. Here we go. We will talk now about the women's playoffs as well. Those are getting underway. We've seen them start, guys, in NIRA, and National Intercollegiate Rugby Association, the premier women's, I would say, rugby division in the country. Outside of some of the better schools like Lindenwood and Life. But these are some of the top programs, and though the top at this point is Dartmouth. who won their semifinal matchup against Quinnipiac 47-14. And my Army team that I picked for my lock of the week, unfortunately, did not have enough to get over the hump and beat the Harvard team that I thought they matched up well against. I watched some of that game, and actually it was pretty good back and forth between the two. Army had a great intercept try that I thought was going to, like, the momentum was all swinging their way. I thought it was going to seal it. They were going to dominate, but Harvard stuck around and they won 41-24. So we're going to get another matchup of last year's final, Harvard v. Dartmouth, for the NIRA D1 championship, guys. Josh, who's your pick in that game?
Aren't Colby and I like huge Harvard fans right now in this one?
You guys did. I believe no, because one of you took Harvard, one of you took Dartmouth beginning of the year, because I took Princeton, who didn't win a game in NIRA. But
no. I must be Harvard because I'm always right.
Oh, wow.
Now I know why Josh only doesn't come on back-to-back episodes, because we don't let him come down back-to-back episodes here.
I mean,
use this time well, Josh, because you're not coming back after this. So go ahead. Say what you got to say.
This is it for you, pal.
I thought that we were on the Harvard train. This playoff picture. I know we had mentioned earlier, we had talked before the pod about how Dartmouth is hosting the championship, right?
Yes, correct.
Kind of a for a championship, it seems like it's not really the most neutral site venue, but I'm still.
If you got a nice facility, you got to flaunt it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm still rolling with Harvard. The team from Massachusetts is getting the win. Wait, is Dartmouth also in Massachusetts?
No. Wait.
Yeah, aren't they?
The team from Boston is getting the win.
No, New Hampshire. Dartmouth's in New Hampshire.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I'm rolling Harvard.
That's a big upset pick, Colby. You going with the upset as well? You going the Crimson Tide there? Not Crimson Tide, that's Alabama, but Harvard is the Crimson.
You totally just threw me off with that comment.
Sorry.
I don't know. This is a tough one. I think I'm riding the Harvard train.
Wow.
I think I'm riding the Harvard train.
You guys are both wrong. Dartmouth is far and away the best team in this conference here. I'm going to take the Big Green. I've made enough mistakes in my life. I know that's not going to be one of them. So at home, champions from last year, retained a lot of talent from that team. Go Big Green. I love them in that. They're also hosting the other two championships as well. So it's not just the Dartmouth Harvard game that's there. They will be hosting the D2 final, which will be between Davenport and Queen's University Charlotte, who are cleaning up on both the men's and women's front here. They're a pretty good squad. That's NIRA D2. And then in D3, they'll be hosting that game, which will be between Bowdoin College, which is also in Maine, and UNE. So they beat Castleton and Norwich, respectively, in the semifinal matchups. Any picks for those two games, guys? I mean, I love Davenport coming out of D2. We've loved Davenport all year on the women's and men's side. So any picks for you guys on those two matchups?
Yeah, for me, I think Davenport is the superior side in this matchup against Queens. I like them to hoist the trophy at the end. And then I'm going to go with UNE, that's University of New England.
Yeah.
To win the D3 championship.
Excellent. Josh, you got any more crazy picks?
I'm gonna take Davenport, and I'm gonna take UNE. So I'm gonna share it with Colby.
There we go.
Look at this, brother.
There we go. I'm gonna go opposite you guys, and I'm gonna take Bowdoin because another Maine school. So now that's NIRA. Tune in for those matches, all streamed on ESPN Plus this weekend. All back to back on Saturday, I believe. Check out Dartmouth's dope home field in that one. Now for the women's NCR tournament, they're going to be all Friday. They're going to have the first round, and that'll be followed up by the semifinals on Sunday. So they're playing two matches in this weekend, all at neutral sites with various kickoff times throughout the day. So just to run through the setup here, Clemson beat Kent State in the playoff game, 45-24, in a play-in game, and Iowa State beat Josh's Spartans 75-0 in their play-in game. And I don't know if that Iowa State's reward for beating Josh's Spartans into a pulp here is to go play the other Michigan school, Michigan, who are probably the best women's team in the NCR at this point. So that's going to be their first round matchup. But Josh, you got a couple seconds here. How do you feel about that devastating loss to Iowa State?
Iona would never lose 75-0. Just saying.
They've never in their history.
Never. It was tough. It was a cold game. The women I can't say they put up a fight. They tried. All right. They attempted. Iowa State, though, has got a tough battle. I'm picking Michigan to return the favor. They're gonna help out their little brother and return the favor on Ohio State.
That's good. The one time that they ever get along, be revenge on Iowa State here. So, Colby, before we get to your picks, just the other matchups now in that first round, Michigan will take on Iowa State, and the winner of that game will play this is probably the matchup of this tournament, will be Northern Iowa versus Southern Nazarene. If you listen to the interview Matt did last week with Angela Smarto, she liked how the Southern Nazarene team had played this year. That's going to be a really great first round matchup between two powerhouses. The Maggie Burns-less UNI and the Southern Nazarene team here. Colby, what are your picks for that side of the bracket?
Yeah, I like the content that Matt put out in regards to Southern Nazarene. So I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna believe that, and I like Iowa State. I think they're gonna clean house and sweep Michigan State and Michigan.
Wow.
And come away with the victory.
Wow, big upset pick. That is huge. That'll be very interesting. I'm going to go Michigan and Southern Nazarene as well for my picks. I mean, not as well as Colby, but I can't pick Iowa State over Michigan. I've been a huge Michigan fan this year. So we'll go with those picks. Other side of the bracket, guys, Notre Dame College, who were the number one ranked team in NCR for most of the season, if not currently still ranked number one. And they're taking on Clemson, who are the winner of the play-in game, and they will take on the winner of Iowa versus Colgate in that second matchup. Colby, who you got?
I'm going NDC, Northern College, knocking off Clemson, and I'll also go with Iowa, defeating Colgate.
Josh, how about you?
NDC and Colgate.
Colgate, real okay, yeah. I love Iowa. I'm gonna go with Iowa. Our Erica Kalibali, who's been just a try-scoring machine all year for Iowa, I think, and the rest of her teammates helped propel them to victory there. And I'll take Notre Dame College as well. Guys, they're playing that second matchup on Sunday. So out of your picks in that first round, Michigan, either Michigan versus Southern Nazarene. I'm going to take Michigan in that game as well. And so I think the final, pick your finals matchup. I think it's going to be Michigan, Iowa is going to be my pick. But how about Josh? What do you think? And Colby after that?
I'll go Michigan, Notre Dame College.
Yeah, I'm going Southern Nazarene against NDC.
NDC. All right, we'll pick the winners after this week when we see how close we get. But again, those games are Friday and Sunday. So keep an eye out. In the interest of time here, guys, there's a bunch of other scores. If you see anything in that, in that other section here in our doc, if you want to shout it out, go ahead. But if not, we'll just kind of move right into our picks and our games to watch.
Push it.
All right, let's do it. We'll say I will shout out Rutgers, who didn't win the Tri-State, but they won. They lost in the championship to Stony Brook, 25-21. So my old home state of Rutgers. Yeah, there you go.
Shout out Rutgers.
They're CRAA as well, which I didn't realize. But so
I wasn't going to shout them out, and I live 5 minutes from campus.
Yeah, man, come on. What are you doing? You gotta. So games to watch, as we mentioned, Friday, big day, USA v Portugal in the morning, 10:30. Get your coffee, get whatever else you need, and then hang around until Friday night when Boston College will take on Notre Dame in what NCR dubbed the Holy War. I don't know if there's much of a rivalry.
Whoa. NCR didn't dub this the Holy War. It is the Holy War.
I don't know. I've never heard of it.
Notre Dame is one of the most storied rivalries in college sports.
In rugby, though?
I'm really sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Colby. What were you going to say?
No. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's the Holy War. Boston College and Notre Dame have played in multiple sports. It's always dubbed the Holy War.
Yeah, but it has been relevant, I don't think, when was the last time Boston College was good at anything? I think Boston College is a better rugby team, for sure. They've been for a long time. We used to play them all the time at Holy Cross, and they would beat the pants off us.
Hot takes.
I have not heard any Holy War between Notre Dame and Boston College be relevant since like the 90s.
Oh.
Hot take, Colby. You got a hot take on the Holy War here?
I know of no such thing.
See, we're not. Josh, you're alone in this one, man. I'm gonna watch the game. I think it's gonna be great rugby. But
Wow.
maybe this will reclaim the mantle for me. Maybe this game will reignite.
This might be the best Friday Night Lights yet.
Yeah, I think it has a definite chance to be that. These are two very good teams. So get on that Saturday. Bunch of playoff games. Make sure you're watching. Also, Lindenwood will be playing Davenport on the men's side. Davenport has put their hand up as one of the better teams. They're ahead of Arkansas State in the rankings now. Ahead of Central Washington in the Mid-South. There, they just won a game this weekend against a very good team in Arkansas State, as I mentioned earlier. So that should be an interesting game. Let's see if they can hang with the big dogs here. But now, guys, we will get down to the nitty gritty. Our everyone's favorite segment, our Lock It Up. Colby, I don't remember who you picked last week. I didn't write it down. I don't know who you took. So do you remember what game you picked? If you don't, you get an L. So I would just make something up.
Wait. Hold the phone.
You got to write it in the doc. Josh wrote his in the doc.
Let's see.
You can't just make it up now. You got to have.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at the old doc. I thought I took the Bonnies. No, I wouldn't have done that. I took Indiana. That was my Lock It Up pick.
Okay.
You took Ohio State because you wanted to improve your record. I was waiting to see if you'd say it. I was waiting.
What?
You took Ohio State because you wanted to come back up in the rankings.
I would not have picked against Indiana.
Josh
I have
took
not picked
Indiana.
Against them all year.
Josh took Indiana. So you were trying to do the reverse
right.
of Josh.
I've done that before. You're right, but not in that case.
All right. You know what?
I would have
picked a tie. We give them a 2-4-1.
A 2-4-1.
Didn't we have the debate earlier in the year that didn't you have a tie?
We gave me a loss for that because I picked Brown women and they tied with their game, their actual game. So they counted as a loss
this week if he wants to take Indiana. But
that's ridiculous. You guys ask me what team I pick. I tell you, and you don't take my word for it. This is asinine.
If we give him the win, he has to take the Bonnies over Indiana this week.
How about that, Colby? Deal?
Fine, I'll take Bonnies.
Okay.
Right.
I'll take Bonnies. They're the favorite, so I'll take them.
So we'll give them the win.
All right, so you are 3-4 on the year, and you have the Bonnies this week in that big matchup now against Indiana. Josh, what's your lock it in?
Am I allowed to choose the USA?
Yeah, there's no rules anymore, so we kind of they're out the window. So I'll allow it.
Colby,
go ahead, go for it. Do what you want. At this
I'll pick a college team if you want. I'm going to pick Lindenwood over Davenport.
No, pick the U.S. Pick the United States national team of America, Josh. Go ahead and pick them.
The national team of America.
Go pick the professional national team.
Now they lose, it's doubly bad for Josh. So I don't feel bad about letting him take that pick because if that goes wrong, that's going to go horribly wrong now. So we'll give you that, Josh. You can have the United States national team of America, Eagles.
I'll be sure to be busy next week, so I don't have to live with that that decision.
That'll be the whole top of the pod there. I am going to take. I'm going to put a little, get a little extra on the Holy War here. I'm going to take Boston College in that game over Notre Dame Friday night. Yeah, I BC, like I said, they were always big rivals when I was at Holy Cross, but I think they always bring it. So I'm going to go Boston College in that one. Josh and I are tied 4-3. So this could be a big pick. Although if we might just throw your pick out because of the whole national team thing. But
should I give you a college pick?
No, because I want the tiebreak. If it comes down to it and I'm losing because of this, then I'll just throw it out. So this works better for me.
What about my Buffalo pick from Matt that I would have never done?
Matt picked it fair and square, man.
Should have showed up.
Yeah, should have been here. And sadly, we don't have any schools eligible for the Mollywop segment this week. I could not find any out there on Twitter. Guys, if you girls, anybody, if you're out there and your team's winning, getting beat by 100 points, let us know. We're gonna highlight you on the pod. We'll shout you out. So either way, it's any press is good press, guys. So let us know. But give me your final thoughts before we head out of here. We'll wrap things up. That was our playoff extravaganza. Thanks for tuning in. Colby, final thoughts.
I have to go to my hair appointment, so I'm just gonna sing us out.
Oh,
If you
Okay.
don't mind.
I like
Yeah.
that. I second this.
Motion passes. Colby,
Yeah.
sing us out of here.
It's the College Rugby Wrap Up. Zach, Josh, and Colby Marshall.